1. Meanings and the basic concepts of reflection. Section 1. Meanings and natures of reflection. What does reflection mean to you? Its derivation is the Latin reflectere, meaning to bend back. It has applications in grammar, physics, and psychology. Grammatically, a pronoun is reflexive if it used as an object to refer to the subject of a verb, as in I prepared myself for the journey. In physics, reflection is the return of light, heat, or sound after striking a surface. In psychological terms, reflection refers to a mental image or representation. Having said this much about the general meanings of the word reflection, let us see how the scholars define it as follows. Reflection involves a state of doubt, hesitation, perplexity, or mental difficulty, in which thinking originates. It is an active, persistent and careful consideration of any belief or supposed form of knowledge. Dewey, 1933. Reflection means thinking about what one is doing. It entails a process of contemplation with openness to being changed, a willingness to learn, and a sense of responsibility for doing one's best. J. 2003. Reflection is an important human activity in which people recapture their experience, think about it, mull over and evaluate it. It is working with experience that is important in learning. Bowd, R. and Walker, 1985. The term reflection is used to describe a vast array of practices. Just as with other popular terms, reflection can have a multitude of meanings as it is translated into professional teacher development. Since reflection is so complex and its varieties so numerous and unique, researchers have identified categories of reflection to describe how it looks in real life. They divided it in terms of its nature, process and the level of practice. Now let us see each categories of reflection in detail. 1.1. Nature of reflection. The nature of reflection is considered as one of the categories of reflection. In this material, the three natures of reflection are addressed as follows. Returning to experience, it refers to recollection/recalling of memory situations, events and activities that happened in the past. Description of what you did or planned to do, and why. Description of how you approached something or how it worked and how it did not. Connections. Reflective connections are the most frequent source of influence on teachers' practical decision-making. In these moments of reflection, teachers connect a particular aspect of their teaching experience with plans for instruction, moving from experience to reflection to action. The teacher may back to his/her experience as student and ask questions to connect his past experience to his/her presence. For instance, what was the feeling back there as a student? Did I feel good or bad when I think of my experience as a student? Why? Which teacher was my favorite? Why? Am I teaching my students the same way that I love to be learned as student? Evaluation. It refers to evaluation of experiences and development of a teacher. The subcategories of evaluation are: giving an opinion, examining what you have learned, drawing conclusions about your own development, evaluating your knowledge or functioning, investigating whether you have achieved your learning objective, examining what you found difficult and progressing. 1.2. Process of reflection. Reflection engages in the process of carrying back and forth between thinking and action. However, the process may appear differently in different situations. One useful way to understand the complexity of reflection is to consider when the reflection takes place. According to Shen, 1983, he divided them into two categories. Reflection in action, thinking on your feet. Reflection on action, retrospective thinking, thinking back. Reflection in action, thinking on your feet, it takes place in the midst of action, not after the task or the experience is accomplished. It involves a surprise, an unexpected behavior that challenges one knows in action, a response to surprise, or conducting an action experiment on the spot by which we seek to solve the new problems. We test our new way of seeing the situation, and also try to change that situation at instant for the better. Reflection in action is not method that the teacher uses, but it shows the art and a talent of the teacher. Reflection on action, retrospective thinking, thinking back, it is the most familiar image of reflection, involves a sequence of action then thought. It is an action to look back your practice or experience after it is accomplished to see how it went, what went well, what did not, what could be changed for the next time. Section 2. Reflective thinking and reflective practice. Reflection, reflective thinking, reflective practice and reflective teaching are often used interchangeably in some literatures, although they have slight distinctions. To get clear understanding of these terminologies, reflective thinking and reflective practice will be discussed in detail separately. 2.1. Reflection as thinking process. The domain of thinking processes encompasses a range of cognitive, affective and metacognitive knowledge, skills and behaviors. It is organized in three dimensions: O reasoning, processing and inquiry; O creativity; O reflection, evaluation and metacognition. Reasoning, processing and inquiry. The reasoning, processing and inquiry dimension encompasses the knowledge, skills and behaviors required to enable teachers' students to find out the world around them, and to use critical thinking to analyze and evaluate information they encounter. Students learn to assemble and question information and develop opinions based on informed judgments. They also develop the capacity to transform information into coherent knowledge structures. Creativity. The capacity to think creatively is a central component of being able to solve problems and be innovative. In the creativity dimension, students learn to seek innovative alternatives and use their imagination to generate possibilities. They learn to take risks with their thinking and make new connections. Reflection, evaluation and metacognition. Learning is enhanced when individuals develop the capacity to reflect on, and improve their existing ideas and beliefs. In the reflection, evaluation and metacognition dimension, students learn to reflect on what they know and develop awareness that there is more to know. They learn to question their perspectives and those of others. They evaluate the validity of their own and others' ideas. They also develop their metacognitive skills in planning, monitoring and evaluating their own thinking processes and strategies. 2.2. Reflective thinking. To understand the meaning of reflective thinking, we have to first define critical thinking, since both are used synonymously. Critical thinking is used to describe us. the use of those cognitive skills or strategies that increase the probability of a desirable outcome, thinking that is purposeful, reasoned and goal-directed, the kind of thinking involved in solving problems, formulating inferences, calculating likelihoods, and making decisions when the thinker is using skills that are thoughtful and effective for the particular context and type of thinking task. Critical thinking is sometimes called directed thinking because it focuses on a desired outcome. Halpern, 1996. Reflective thinking is a part of the critical thinking process, referring specifically to the processes of analyzing and making judgments about what has happened. It is an active, persistent, and careful consideration of a belief or supposed form of knowledge, of the grounds that support that knowledge, and the further conclusions to which that knowledge leads. For instance, learners are aware of and control their learning by actively participating in reflective thinking, assessing what they know, what they need to know, and how they bridge that gap, during learning situations. Dewey, 1933. To sum up, critical thinking involves a wide range of thinking skills leading toward desirable outcomes, and reflective thinking focuses on the process of making judgments about what has happened. However, reflective thinking is most important in prompting learning during complex problem-solving situations because it provides students with an opportunity to step back and think about how they actually solve problems and how a particular set of problem-solving strategies is appropriated for achieving their goal. When students are faced with a difficult problem, reflective thinking helps them to become more aware of their learning progress, choose appropriate ways to explore a problem, and to build the knowledge they need to solve the problem. Thus, in the classroom, the teacher has to be aware of the following features of reflective thinking that able students engage in reflective thinking. 1. Perplexity, puzzle, confusion, doubt. The teacher has to provide a problem or scenario. 2. Conjectural anticipation, guessing the reasons behind. The teacher provides many opportunities to engage students in gathering information to look for possible causes and solutions for a problem given. 3. Careful survey, examination, inspection, exploration, analysis. The teacher will give activity sheets to help students evaluate the evidence they gather and questions that prompt them to consider alternatives and implications of their ideas. 4. Consequent elaboration of the tentative hypothesis suggests solutions. The teacher will prepare questions and activities that prompt students to draw conclusions from the evidence they gathered and pose solutions. 5. Taking one stand upon the projected hypothesis as a plan of action, doing something overtly to bring about the anticipated result and thereby testing the hypothesis, evaluate and monitor the implementation of the solution. The teacher will provide opportunities for students to choose and implement the best alternative and encourage them to monitor and re-evaluate their results and findings throughout the entire unit. Additionally, to create a conducive environment for reflective thinking in the classroom, the teacher can provide enough wait time for students to reflect when responding to investigation. Provide emotionally supportive environments in the classroom, encouraging re-examination of conclusions. Prompt reviews of the learning situation, what is known, what is not yet known, and what has been learned. Provide real tasks involving ill-structured data to encourage reflective thinking during learning activities. Prompt students' reflection by asking questions that seek reasons and evidence. Provide some explanations to guide students' thought processes during explorations. Provide a less structured learning environment that prompts students to explore what they think is important. Provide social learning environments such as those inherent in peer group works and small group activities to allow students to see other points of view. Provide reflective journal to write down students' positions, give reasons to support what they think, show awareness of opposing positions and the weaknesses of their own positions. Teacher as reflective thinker choose to be active, voluntarily and willingly taking responsibility for personal actions. Reflective, searching for information and solutions to problems that arise in the classroom. Identifying the strengths and needs of individual students. Persistent, being committed to thinking through difficult issues in depth. Consistently and continually modifying teaching approaches. Relational, striving for quality interactions in the classroom to set the tone for learning. Evidence-seeking, trying new approaches while documenting their effectiveness and making adaptations based on evidence in the form of student learning. Although persistent and careful thinking is important to the reflective teacher, such thinking does not automatically lead to change and improvement. But, it is also important for teachers to translate their thoughts into reflective practices or actions. 2.3 Reflective practice, reflective practices. A dialogue of thinking and doing through which one becomes more skilled. Shen, 1987. A process that helps teachers think about what happened, why it happened, and what else could have been done to reach their goals. Cruikshank and Applegate, 1981. An inquiry approach that involves a personal commitment to continuous learning and improvement. York-Barr, Summers, Gare, and Monti, 2001. The practice of analyzing one's actions, decisions, or products by focusing on one's process for achieving them. Killian and Tottenham, 1991. A critical, questioning orientation and a deep commitment to the discovery and analysis of information concerning the quality of a professional's designed action. Bright, 1996. A willingness to accept responsibility for one's professional practice. Ross, 1990. A systematic and comprehensive data-gathering process enriched by dialogue and collaborative effort. Osterman and Kottkamp, 2004. The capacity to think creatively, imaginatively and, eventually, self-critically about classroom practice. Larsley, 1992. An ongoing process of examining and refining practice, variously focused on the personal, pedagogical, curricular, intellectual, societal, and/or ethical contexts associated with professional work. Cole and Knowles, 2000. 2.3.1 Levels of reflection practice. The levels of practice are one of the classifications of reflection. They indicate in what level an individual is practicing reflection. The topic addresses from simple to complex levels that one can develop to. There are 3 major levels of reflective practice. Day, 1993. Farrell, 2004 and A.L. These are an initial level focused on teaching functions, actions or skills, generally considering teaching episodes as isolated events. A more advanced level considering the theory and rationale for current practice. a higher order where teachers examine the ethical, social and political consequences of their teaching, grappling with the ultimate purposes of schooling. The short summary of the levels presented here is stand for and adopting the terminology of technical reflection, contextual reflection, and critical reflection respectively. Technical reflection. At the first level, teachers' reflections focus on strategies and methods used to reach predetermined goals. They are concerned with what works in the classroom to keep students quiet and to maintain order, rather than with any consideration of the value of such goals as ends in themselves. It is the lowest level of reflection. Typical questions the teacher asks at the level of technical reflection are, "Oh, did I spend too much time on group work today? Oh, how can I keep students on task? Oh, did I have enough, too many, activities? Oh, how can I get students to pay better attention?" Contextual reflection. Teachers engaging in contextual reflection attempt to understand the theoretical basis for classroom practicing to foster consistency between supported theory, what they say they do and believe, and theory in use, what they actually do in the classroom. Teachers reflecting at this level can determine when there is conflict between what they practice and what they preach, for example, seeing themselves as humanistic yet belittling students when they persist in disobeying rules. Typical questions the teacher asks at the level of pedagogical reflection are, "Oh, how can I improve learning for all my students? Oh, how can I build in better accountability for cooperative learning tasks? Oh, am I giving my students the opportunity to develop decision-making skills? Oh, what else can I do to help students make connections to prior knowledge? Oh, is there a better way to accomplish this goal?" Critical reflection. Critical reflectivity is interchangeably used as the dialectical level. At this stage, teachers reflect on the moral and ethical implications and consequences of classroom practices on students. They extend their considerations to issues beyond the classroom to include democratic ideals. Acknowledging that classroom and school practices cannot be separated from the larger social and political realities, critical reflective teachers strive to become fully conscious of the range of consequences of their actions. Critical reflection is mostly considered as a higher order level of reflection. It adds the following dimensions: questioning of underlying assumptions, biases, and values one brings to bear on their teaching. Conscious consideration of the ethical implications and consequences of practices on students and their learning. Examination of how instructional and other classroom practices contribute to social equity and to the establishment of a just society. Extended awareness beyond immediate instructional circumstances to include caring about democratic foundations and encouraging socially responsible actions. Typical questions the teacher asks at the level of critical reflection are, "Do all students in my class have daily opportunities to be successful? Who is being included and who is being excluded in this classroom practice? How might the ways I group students affect individual students' opportunity for success? Does this classroom practice promote equity? Do I have practices that differentially favor particular groups of students, for example, males, females?" Figure 3 Levels of reflective practice. 2.4 Tradition of reflection practice. There are 5 different traditions of reflective practice as described by Zichner and Liston, 1996. This framework ties different types of reflection to traditions in educational reform, emphasizing that each of the types derives from different underlying assumptions about the aims of education. 1. Generic tradition. It emphasizes reflective practice in general as central to teaching and teacher education, without a particular focus on the content, quality, or context of reflection when a teacher merely describes the situation in the classroom. In short, generic reflection is thinking about work and students. 2. Academic tradition. Teacher education mainly emphasizes the teacher's role as a scholar and subject matter specialist. That is, academic reflection is thinking about content and instruction. 3. Social efficiency tradition. The social efficiency tradition focuses on the scientific study of teaching to provide the basis for building a teacher education curriculum, whose major manifestation in recent years is the competency performance-based teacher education (CPBTE) programs. CPBTE was stimulated partly by applications of behaviorist psychology to the training of personnel in industry and the military during and after World War II. Social efficiency reflection, in short, is about thinking about improving methods of instruction. 4. Developmentalist tradition has its roots in the child study movement and assumes that the natural order of development of the learner provides the basis for determining what should be taught, both to pupils and to their teachers. This tradition has three aspects. 1. The teacher as naturalist, a movement that stressed the importance of skills in the observation of children's behavior and in building a curriculum and classroom environment consistent with patterns of child development and children's interests. 2. The teacher as artist movement, in which the teacher-artist has a deep understanding of the psychology of child development, and prospective teachers are provided with a variety of experiences in dance, creative dramatics, writing, painting, and storytelling so that they are be able to exemplify for their students an inquiring, creative, and open-minded attitude. And 3. The teacher as researcher movement, which focuses on fostering the teacher's experiential attitude toward practice. In short, the focus of developmentalist reflection is thinking about student readiness. 5. The social reconstructionist tradition defines both schooling and teacher education as crucial elements in a movement toward a more just society. The social reconstructionist tradition in teacher education recommend that teacher educators should be 1. Directly involved in teacher education programs in some capacity, for example, as a teacher or administrator. 2. Engaged in political work within colleges and universities. 3. Actively supportive of efforts within the public schools to create more democratic work and learning environments. 4. Engaged in political work within professional associations and in relation to state educational agencies. And 5. Working for democratic changes aimed at achieving greater social justice in other societal and political areas. Generally, the social reconstructionist reflection gives emphasis on thinking about equity and social justice. Section 3. Benefits and issues of reflection, a rationale for reflection. It aims to improve practice by learning directly from experience. is engaged in a process of examining the fundamental assumptions implicit in practice and experience and is planning to change thinking and practices from this new awareness. 3.1 Benefits of reflection. Reflection is tied directly to experience. Individuals must have self-awareness as well as awareness of their environment to practice reflection. Practicing reflection has a lot of benefit for individuals. These benefits are categorized into two for the sake of this material: benefits of reflection for learners and teachers. The benefits of reflection for learners. Reflection helps learners to understand what they already know. At individual level, they improve their basic academic skills. Identify what they need to know in order to advance understanding of the subject. At contextual level, they develop a deeper understanding of subject matter. Make sense of new information and feedback in the context of their own experience. At relational level, students start to relate the subject matter to the non-academic world and to their own experience. Guide choices for further learning. At developmental level, students develop personally by enhancing via self-awareness, their sense of community, and their sense of their own capacities. They also develop higher-level thinking and problem-solving skills. The benefits of reflection for teacher. Teaching changes from one context to the next. The skills you develop in one class may be markedly different from those required in another while demonstrating or lecturing environment or group discussion. Reflection is a process in which lecturers become aware, or are supported to become aware, of the theory and motives behind their own teaching. To reflect on this and take some deliberate steps to develop to pulling the practitioner out of autopilot and causing them to focus on some part of their teaching. This realization may be caused by an unexpected experience or outcome or just a sense of something is not quite right. For example, if during a tutorial, students do not respond or engage well, and any questions are met with a wall of uncomfortable silence, the instructor aware there is a problem somewhere. One option is to attribute blame for this lack of interaction to the students and continue as planned. Another option is to reflect on the teaching and learning to help to identify how the teaching may be changed to initiate more discussion and student response. Therefore, reflection enables a teacher to be conscious of our potential for bias and discrimination. Make the best use of the knowledge available. Avoid past mistakes. Solve a problem or address an issue in the classroom. To reduce confusion or frustration. Reflectivity is often a problem or situation-based activity. Maximize our own opportunities for learning. Result feelings of pleasure and self-satisfaction. Unless we make conscious and systematic efforts to critique our own practice, we will be unaware of how and when we are being discriminatory. Not make use of the knowledge base developed by our own profession. Continue to repeat the same mistakes. Our skills will decline rather than develop. 3.2 Issues of reflection. Possible barriers of reflection. Lack of time. Lack of awareness about the purpose of reflection. Fear of judgment and criticism. Being closed to feedback and defensiveness. Fear of professional arrogance. Solutions for the barriers. Mentors or teachers should be a role model. For example, a mentor or teachers who reflects on their own practice. Give time for reflection. To reflect effectively on your experience, you should actively set a time from your each working day to reflect and analyze. Provide non-judgmental support to your colleague or your mentee. Create as many opportunities as possible for engaging in reflection, for example pairs, groups reviews and discussion. Section 4. Reflection versus technical rationality. Technical rationality is when professionals make decisions and solve problems through the application of scientific theory and techniques. Technical rationality holds that professionals possess specific, scientific and standardized knowledge. A first component of this professional knowledge is basic science, which for a major profession such as medicine might include such knowledge as anatomy and physiology. From this basic science is derived applied science, which is the knowledge guiding the everyday work of professionals. Finally, in the technical rational model of practice, professionals are held to possess specific skills and attitudes, which are related to the process of providing services to individuals and the community. The dominance of technical rationality in the Western world related to the rise to reputation, over some 300 years, of scientific and technological explanations for the workings of the world. The decline of religion, superstition, and fake knowledge, and their replacement with ideas founded on positivistic science, were essential in creating the conditions for the rise of technical rationality. Technical rationality was not able to account for much of what professionals do. The problems professionals attempt to solve, for example, are rarely abstract or clear-cut. Problems occur in particular settings, and solutions therefore are found only in the specific contexts in which problems are framed. Therefore, rather than base their decision-making and problem-solving on the application of empirical science, professionals who enter into the muddy lowland always use trial and error and gut feeling. In dealing with situations characterized by uncertainty and uniqueness, positivistic knowledge may not have practical value that professionals reflect. Reflection begins in working practice, particularly those areas of practice where professionals are confronted with unique and confusing situations. Teachers may have acquired the theoretical knowledge, technical rationality, of the subject or of the practice of teaching and learning. This may explain their classroom practice as it should be, but it might not explain it as it actually is. For example, trainee or new teacher might express the opinion that this theory stuff is very well, but it doesn't work in the real world. Teacher-trainer may be offended by the rejection of theory, but their trainees may have a point. The real teaching environment is where theory is applied, tested and evaluated. Theory is never used rigidly, nor does it provide all the answer to problems teachers encounter. It is, however, the starting point for developing teaching and learning in practice. Reflection, in and on action, allows as teachers continually improve their practice and even to the development of practice-based theory.